My brother dumped his kids on me, then called me out for having no life. Now my parents are furious, and the family vacation is canceled. My brother said that I had no personal life and left his 3 daughters with me. Until 9 p.m., I filmed the conversation on my phone and showed it to my parents. Refusing to go on the family vacation because my brother is demanding that I babysit at 9 p.m., I was repeatedly stuck playing the role of helper and babysitter during family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to watch over my 3 nieces. Last autumn, we took a family trip to the mountains. I rode along with my parents and they covered my hotel expenses. However, I had to share a room with 3 rowdy girls because my brother and his wife wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own activities during the vacation, but instead I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it but was reminded that I was there for free. We did only one thing I wanted to do, which was visit an art gallery. I enjoy this whenever I'm in the mountains, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have planned a beach trip for March, and assumed I'd join them the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I have a good job and a reliable car, so I can more than afford it. That's when the argument started. I stated the reasons mentioned earlier as to why I would be driving and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child as I was last year. My parents informed my brother, and he called to berate me saying I'd be ruining the vacation if I did my own thing while he had to manage his 3 daughters. I ended up yelling at him saying that last year all he did was rope me into his mess. I didn't be DJ and tell him to get to do much of anything I wanted and was treated like the bad guy for wanting to visit an art gallery. I'm an adult and I deserve my own vacation too. Now my brother isn't speaking to me and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I wrong for not giving in? I know they'll have a hard time without another person there to help. ATVDTMM's barely been an hour since I posted, but my brother apparently reads Reddit in the mornings and saw my post. Not only is he furious with me, but he's also upset that no one in the comments is siding with him. To summarize, he went on a big rant about how hard it is to be a parent to triplets, and that the least I could do is help because I'm young and single and he needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now he's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. Well, I'm off work now so I can explain more of what went down. I guess you could say ATVDJTM's over. My brother got our parents involved. They looked at my post and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me for posting here, but I told them that if they'd just listened to me from the beginning, I wouldn't have needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to appease my brother. They in turn went off on my brother. And to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been canceled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway, but my parents are arguing with my brother. My brother is blaming me and my nieces are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My brother called me at lunch and implied that I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told her parents, and that's currently what they are fighting about. My parents said they won't ever push babysitting my nieces on me again, and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Now they're very angry with my brother for telling me I should help him because he thinks I have no life. My brother is playing the victim and my sister-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented, you made my day. Update 1. My parents apologized, my brother did not, at least at first. A week ago I made this throwaway account to ask, am I the jerk? I was found to be anything but. I have too much to say to post in Am I the Jerk as an update, so a friend recommended I come here. My posting on Am I the Jerk essentially opened a Pandora's box in the family. Basically, my parents and older brother had become very comfortable with me helping with the childcare of my young triplet nieces. I didn't leave home until I was 24 because I was trying to save money while also going to college. A scholarship covered a lot, and living at home kept me from accumulating rising debt due to my working part-time as well. I'm very thankful for this. However, after college, everyone just seemed to act like I had endless time on my hands and convinced me to join a family vacation. During this so-called vacation, I was forced to babysit my 3, at the time 7-year-old nieces. I even had to share a hotel room with them, and believe me, those kids did not listen to a thing I said on the first night until I called their mother twice. I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to do other things during the trip. It was like if it's something the family doesn't enjoy as a whole, then it doesn't happen, which was extremely hypocritical because I'm family, and wasn't included in that vote. And you can bet I aired this grievance with my parents after my last post, and they have acknowledged being in the wrong. After that awful vacation last year, I decided it was time to move out, and did so before the summer even ended, which surprised everyone as I gave them no warning. I landed a great job pretty much right after college, thanks to an internship, and used moving as an excuse to drop my commute from 50 minutes to 20. My brother hated this the most because it meant no more free babysitting on weekends, but he still tried to make me do it. I caved sometimes, usually by being bribed with pizza, and this sort of became a new norm. But then last month, my parents announced plans for another family vacation to the same place along the coast, and they basically wanted it to go the same way. I immediately saw it for what it was, VDJ a trap. I knew that if I rode with my parents and let them buy the hotel rooms, I would be screwed over the same way as last time, so I just casually stated I'd drive myself and pay for myself, and that's when the storm started. When my parents realized they couldn't entrap me like before, they resorted to borderline begging, and my brother practically tried to order me to go along with the plan through gaslighting. Newsflash. I didn't. After I didn't cave to my brother's demands, I made the "Am I the jerk" post after days of harassment. Then my brother somehow spotted the post in less than an hour. What followed was Pandora's box. At first, the family was against me. My brother called our parents, and they called me when I still had a little time to talk in the morning. My parents were on the phone with me while also reading my post. I asked them if anything in the post was a lie. They sort of steered around it, and called the post an exaggeration, but I pointed out numerous details that made it pretty much on the mark. Checking the comments, there were already far too many to read. I was repeatedly refreshing the page on my home PC, and telling my parents how many comments there were. Then I told them I was sick of their mentality of keeping the peace by forcing me to placate my brother. I said I was out of time and we would have to resume this later. My parents were positively horrified that hundreds if not thousands of people were commenting in a matter of hours. Later on, I told them that the numbers had basically doubled and were still growing, which only added to their horror. So I guess they were forced to take a long look at their own actions. My brother tried to call me to rant while I was at work, but my phone was on silent until my lunch break, so all he could do was leave messages and texts. He was persistent and managed to get through to me when I was eating my lunch. The gist of the conversation was that my post had taken our parents away from his side, and now they were mad at him. In the ensuing argument between them, my parents canceled the entire vacation. Yes, they later acknowledged they just passed the blame out of embarrassment and fully accepted fault. They told me no excuses could excuse the fact they made me their go-to free babysitter when I wasn't even living at home anymore. They did try to backtrack a little by pointing out they never charged me rent while I was in college, but I reminded them kids don't ask to be born, and I was doing my hardest to make my own way. Then I pointed out my father had the same kind of leg up from his parents. They let him live free of charge at home while he was in college. That basically ended any argument my parents had left. When my brother managed to call me at lunch, I presented the facts to him, and he showed his true colors. He implied that I have no life, and that my free time on weekends should be spent helping him because he is tired and unable to go out without bringing his children unless someone is watching them. He is a stay-at-home dad with a wife who makes a decent salary. They live in a pretty decent house that's owned, not rented, and to be frank, my nieces aren't really my responsibility. They just forced them on me and expected it to stay that way. My brother angrily hung up on me, but I had recorded the call and then played it to my parents later. They were furious and went to war with my brother. My brother dug his heels in, blamed me, and then doubled down on his belief that my life should revolve around his. I told him that was the most narcissistic and entitled thing he's ever said about me. It took days, but his wife finally stepped in and forced him to apologize to me. I'd never seen him cowed like that by anyone, but he was on the verge of crying. It ended up being admitted that one of the reasons I was the go-to babysitter was because my brother didn't trust strangers. It was never about the money. Or was it? Actually, my sister-in-law thought my brother was paying me for my time watching their kids after I moved out of my parents' house. He didn't even give me gas money, just gave me cash that was enough to order pizza for both myself and the kids and pocket the rest. My brother had been shortchanging me for months. My sister-in-law blew up at him when this came out during his half-assed apology, and he was forced to pay me what he owed me in cash entirely from his own savings, which he looked very sore about. Then my sister-in-law apologized to me for her own inaction in letting my brother walk all over me, and promised they'd get a normal babysitter from now on. Yes, it'll cause a bit of a drop in the bucket for them, but my brother will be getting his date nights back. Then came the family meeting the other evening. We all gathered at my parents' house, and everything was laid bare, VJ apologies all around and whatnot. Then my parents reinstated the family vacation, and yes, I still plan to drive myself and pay for my own hotel stay. I'll even stay in a completely different hotel if my brother tries to revert me to childcare, and I have stated this. He's promised me that won't happen, and if I don't update again after the vacation in another month or so, then you'll all know everything is fine. My brother called me demanding I take my post down. Now he's more upset than ever to know how far it's spread. Having a family that knows about your Reddit account has its disadvantages. Yesterday my brother called me after I got off work to ask if comments are still coming in. He said he cannot bear the negativity of looking at them himself, because the comments are all so hurtful towards him. So I was brutally honest. VDJ, at least 10 comments are still coming in daily, and most of them more or less say the same things about him. He started crying and demanding I delete my Reddit posts, but I refused and told him he can cry to anyone he wants, but the posts stay up because they are my assurance he won't try to treat me like crap anymore. After all, he literally felt like my life should revolve around his, didn't pay me the babysitting money he was supposed to, pocketed it for himself, and forced me to be the constant babysitter on last year's family vacation, so I had pretty much no fun the entire time. Is it really any wonder people are having so much hate for him when he treated me like that? When I mentioned the posts have already spread to other websites, because I was asked a couple of times to let an article be made about my situation, and there are some videos that were read as well. My brother shrieked, hearing that, and hung up. My parents then called me begging I take the posts down. I've refused and stated that I only did this because they didn't stick up for me. This would have never happened if they had told my brother to treat me like an equal and not a servant. I'm not his butler, babysitter, or handyman. I'm his freaking sibling and a grown adult. Wouldn't they be tired of this crap in my shoes too? They agreed but still begged I take the posts down. I refused and said that I'll keep making more if they don't start sticking up for me more when my brother comes crying to them. Let him clean up his own messes, because all the enabling of him led to this. I didn't father those kids. I've got a life of my own, a career I'm still new to, and hopefully soon enough a girlfriend. Is there someone I want to ask out? I'm moving my life forward and I won't be held back. They can either step out of my way or keep trying to enable my brother, but I assured them that the latter would end badly for them. The only way this posting on Reddit will stop is if the drama stops. I've kept things anonymous, and I've got a right to vent my very valid frustrations. Well, that left my mother crying. My father just went silent, and I said tears don't move me. They know what it'll take to end this, and it's to stop enabling my brother. Well, my brother called me again to yell at me that our parents have told him they aren't dealing with this anymore and to figure it out himself. Oh, and they told him to be nicer to me too. I just pictured his eye twitching as he internally screamed after hearing that. Be nice to my younger sibling? What is this? Do I look it up on Google? Yeah, I was that sarcastic to him, but it left him crying too when I hung up. My brother-in-law called me later to get my side of the story. He was mad that I was still posting and made his wife cry, but I explained everything to him and he said he'd have another talk with my brother. I'm hoping this drama finally ends here, but the family vacation is still on for late November. I've already booked my room and put in for a day off work so we can all leave on a Friday. My room is also not near the ones my parents, brother, Bill, and nieces will be using. In fact, it's not even on the same floor. When we go to the coast, if it's not a family activity, I'm going to go where I want and do what I want. You can bet I'm going to tour those art galleries, pig out on local food, and just enjoy being carefree for a change. After the family vacation is over. VDJ. Some things went both good and bad as expected. Good in that my parents didn't enable my brother's attempts to make me babysit Ja. Oh yes, he did try DJ, but bad in that my brother did try to find out which room I was in, but that failed and got him in trouble with his wife again. Firstly, I made sure to tell the hotel in advance that they were not to give out any of my information to anyone who asked except for the police if necessary. They assured me over the phone they would not tell a soul. Then, on the day of the vacation, I left earlier in the morning than the rest of the family. I knew they wouldn't be able to get moving as a group until at least 10 a.m., so I left at 9 a.m. Check-in wouldn't be until 1 p.m., but I wanted to make sure I had a head start. I sent out an FYI group text and was off like a shot to make the 3-hour drive. My parents were upset because they'd planned a family brunch on the way, but I pointed out I was never made aware of that, so it was canceled in favor of fast food like I planned. I arrived at the hotel early VJ too early for check-in VDJ, but I told the desk staff I was there to make sure my parents or brother didn't give them my information. They claimed they don't do that, but I told them I know for a fact it still happens sometimes, so uncovering my ass. When they happened to be dealing with my mother and my brother and 3 potentially crying girls trying to guilt them at the desk, they had better not yield, and I wanted to know if they tried anything. They awkwardly promised me no one but me would get access to my room. Then I decided to go out and get something to eat. I came back more than an hour later, and there was my parents' car and Bill's big SUV. I went to the desk to check in after making sure the lobby was clear, and it was. And I asked the clerk if my family had asked about me and where I was staying in the hotel. Yeah, they did, but the clerk refused to tell them. My brother had apparently tried to push it, but his wife shut him up. I checked in, went to my room, and then called my folks. I didn't mention I knew what they tried with the clerk, and they conveniently didn't mention it either. Then we all met up as a family to go out and tour around. At one point, my brother asked me to watch his kids for a moment, to which I replied hell no, because I knew exactly what he was doing. He would pretend to be gone for a moment, and then would be gone for an hour. I called him out, and his wife told him to stop trying to make me watch their kids. What did my brother do? He just started crying on the spot, saying he needs a break. His wife scolded him, saying she's a tired woman, but she wasn't complaining. I should be watching those kids. I would walk away from this family vacation right now. It's not my job, and I'm sick and tired of her and my brother acting like it is. Well, that made my mother start crying too, and then she just started repeating the words "you're right" over and over again. This is another old tactic of hers. She tries to look pathetic to guilt me, but I just said I'm right and to just let it go before walking away. Neither my mother nor my brother tried anything for the rest of the day. When we got back to the hotel after dinner, my family were all crowding the elevator, but I didn't get in with them. They asked why, and I said I'd wait for the next one. My brother glared at me because he knew exactly what I was doing. Then I just sat in the lobby watching YouTube on my phone for 15 minutes and then took the elevator up. I was on a different floor, and on the other end of the hotel. I had a splendid night, and the next morning we all went out for breakfast, but I made sure they left first. I was the last one out, just like I was the last one in the night before. Breakfast went fine, then I gave an FYI that I was going to be doing my own thing for the day. My mother tried to bring up plans to go to the aquarium and a couple of other places, so I said I'd meet them for those, but the rest of the day was mine until family dinner. They accepted this, and that day went fine too. Back at the hotel that evening, though, my brother caught me leaving my room. He must have been stalking the whole floor looking for me. I went back to my room to chill a bit before dinner because I was tired from walking so much, and my brother was just down the hall when I left my room to meet them for dinner. He tried to corner me and said that I'd ruined the family vacation for him because now it wasn't hardly any different for him than at home since he had to wrangle his kids. I called bullshit because my parents were helping him a lot. Then I told him that I'm sick of this song and dance of being his scapegoat, and it's already over, so leave me the hell alone and get on with your own life. Then I started walking with him, yelling, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you." I told him I didn't give a crap and was going to dinner. He followed me to the elevator, and we both said nothing to each other. I didn't stay silent and told my parents and my sister-in-law that my brother had stalked me to find my room. He was scolded like a child. He had a pity party. I told him to stop milking it and grow up. The old days when he could force his will on me were over. Then I walked out of the lobby and into my car. This time I was the first one to dinner. When everyone else arrived, my brother looked depressed, but not a damn thing was said about what happened before, and that was just fine with me. My brother refrained from making contact with me the entire evening, and this time I didn't give a crap about riding in the elevator with the rest of them. I told them bluntly that unless it was an emergency, no one is to come knocking on my door. I had a do not disturb sign for a reason. The final day, everything went swimmingly. Neither my brother nor my mother bothered me at all, VJ. They'd fully surrendered at this point. Yes, during the whole vacation I did play with my nieces a bit. I'm not a complete jerk. I didn't stonewall them. I kept up being the fun uncle, just not the babysitter uncle. The kids didn't even seem to care. They just wanted to play. I even bought each of them one of those little bags of crystals and polished stones to take home as a souvenir. There was a bit of mild drama between my brother and his wife, but that was just some small disagreements that I didn't bother to. All in all, I'd call the vacation a win, because it finally hit home, for my mother and brother, that the old way they did things involving me is over and I have my own life. Update 4. My mother and brother saw my last post. They really don't know when to let well enough alone. Hey mom, hey bro, I warned you that if you didn't stop I would go right back to Reddit, and here I am. The short of it is that my mother and brother saw my last post and freaked out. My brother was stalking my account for days because he knew I'd post. Well, what did he expect, that I would just say everybody had a good time? He called me and cried that I made him look like a bad parent. I ended up replying, well, if the glass slipper fits. My brother argued with me some more, but I asked him to name anything in the post that was a lie. He tried several times, but I pointed out that every detail was spot on. So what does he do? He calls mommy. And my mother showed up at my door demanding I delete all the posts. I told her no, and now I have ammunition for one more. I ended up making her leave crying. I spoke with my mother and father over the phone later, and bluntly told them that their enabling of my brother led to the previous family dynamic. I will never go back to how things were, so if they have any hope of that left, I'm snuffing it out for good. My parents then told my brother, for the love of God, to stop blaming me, and to leave me alone. They can't take the stress of my retaliation anymore. Well, my brother had a literal no one loves me pity party, and my parents had to snap him back to reality. My sister-in-law hasn't called, pretty sure he's staying neutral, but this can't be good for his marriage or my familial connection to him. So out of respect to my sister-in-law, I am sorry man, but your husband just pushed me too far. Currently my parents are insisting my brother gets counseling because he can't be a parent and juggle the habits of his old life too. Man up, as they say. Either way, I'm hoping this is my last post. You hear that, bro? If you don't stop thinking I should have been your personal slave, babysitter, watchdog, etc., and want to keep acting like the whole world is against you because you can't lord over me, then we can't be around each other. Maybe we can get along and move past this crap if you're willing. Don't give me a reason to write anything else. If the Reddit posts about you end here, I'll only post ones involving me and the treatment I get from people. Treat me like a decent human being, and this will be over. Capiche? Update. My parents and I had a long talk in which they have apologized, and for the moment we have agreed that I'll keep a bit of distance until Thanksgiving. I also had a man-to-man talk with my sister-in-law last night over some cold beers. He told my brother he needed counseling, or he would separate from him, and they are in the process of finding him a counselor. He also told me that while my brother was an absolute witch to me at home, he is a very loving and endearing spouse, but he also admitted that he liked being an only child. We're nearly a decade apart in age, so my brother held on to some resentment about that for a long time, and just let it build up. He's agreed that he does need counseling, and will be going as soon as they get it set up. They've also found a qualified babysitter to look after my nieces. Aside from those things, my sister-in-law did admit that he was angry with me too, but didn't step in when I needed him. So we've agreed that this was all just a very bad situation that needs to be ended. So we're just going to let it rest in peace from here on out. Lastly, these posts have gotten me a girlfriend. The girl I like had a feeling it was me after she read them and was just waiting for me to say something. We'll be going on our first date tonight, so I thank everybody here for their immense support. I really needed it.